Ladies and gorillas, we're going to do something original today. So, you know I'm always going on about truss rods and what they do and how they work. Let's have a look at one. I have, of course, a guitar neck, nothing attached to it, which I've robbed and pillaged for everything it's got. I have a selection of very ugly looking tools that will hurt things. And also I found this very, what I believe is going to be a very useful tool, this pointy thing here. And I believe that this is for heating up the fretboard, so melting the glue between the neck wood itself and the fretboard. So that should melt it, and then with these things here, we should be able to get it whipped off and see what happens. Fingers crossed. So while the hot pointy thing is getting up to temperature, oh, I just heard it click. Probably means it is up to temperature. First thing that we'll probably want to do is take the nuts off. There's no particular special way to get these off. Just give them a bit of a crack and they should come out without too much resistance. So, let's just go for it, see what happens. I'm sure that you've seen people use one of these things before, so let's pause you while I make that nice and warm. Well, I also say strike while the iron's hot, so let's just give it a little tap and see what bloody hell that is hot as well. Give it a little tap and see what happens. No, it's not. Just give that a little try. Oh. Okay. It's going a bit. Let's heat it up a little bit more. Yeah, so it's definitely a do not try at home job, this one. As you can see, I've managed to separate part of the fretboard from the neck. Not that it matters really. Important thing is, if you want to have a look at the truss rod, it's a little bit of fret wire for you. Well, might as well just butcher it with the old multi-tool now, mightn't I? Right, quick update for you. So I've discovered a couple of things. For a start, not even the multi-tool would go through the rosewood. That was out of the question. So what I discovered was that using a chisel was certainly the wrong thing to do, and seems that just a regular decorator's scraper is best. We're, you know, a good portion of the way through. And the other thing that I learned is that you need an awful lot of heat to make this operation work. So let's crack on. Yeah, so this is what I've been doing. And so far it seems to be working. We're getting a little bit further along, but you don't half need some heat in it. Franklin Tight Bond, good stuff, eh? Ooh, we are starting to reveal the truss rod. Right, I'll carry on bashing. So certainly, if you, oh, that's still quite warm. So certainly, if you're doing this for real on a guitar that you actually loved, then you wouldn't go and do what I've done, which is knacker the bottom of, which is knacker fretboard in any way. So I started using a chisel on this end, wrong thing to do. And I also started using a chisel on this end, also the wrong thing to do. If I was doing it again on, you know, anything that was actually to carry on living, that's what I'd use, a little decorator's wallpaper scraper. So, what we've got in there is a great big long bolt that's captive in this end, and that has obviously the adjustment on this end, and that will cause the wood or cause the neck to either bow up or down. So might as well whip it out and see what we've got, eh? I shall carry on using the same brute force and ignorance technique. What do I want to do? Just try, shove something in, see what happens. Order. Better have some specs. Wonder how easily that. Oh, hello. Can we see? That does. We are making that move. Oh yeah, there you go. If we can pop it out from here. Oh, gosh, it blows. So that, my friends, is what a truss rod looks like. Ah. Ah. So adjusty thing on one end. And a captive nut at the other. And of course you can see the threads in this. And even though I did approach this quite clumsily, it's not really left any damage on the neck itself. Obviously this was a big fat mistake here and down here as well. A friend of mine attacked me with a guitar neck once. I said, is that some kind of fret? Okay. Yeah, so there you go. That's it. That's what they do. That's how they work. Sits in there. And so for the necks that we see that have got a skunk stripe on them, then that would mean that the truss rod has cleverly been inserted after the fretboard's gone on. So there we go. Okay, fair enough. I hear you ask. So you've revealed the truss rod, but what do they actually do? What do they actually do? How do they really work? Well, tell you what, let's slap it on the bench. We'll have a little look. As you can hopefully see, the truss rod is now captive with these bit of tape and some zip ties. And so, when you tighten your truss rod, and again, as I say, when you're at the neck end, what you're going to do is turn it clockwise from the neck end. So, here's the bolt head, here's the captive nut at the bottom, and you're going to turn clockwise to tighten your truss rod up, and let's see what happens. So here I am tightening. I've got about a quarter of a turn so far, and you should see anytime now the centre of the, well, in fact, yes, we can see it starting to belly out here now. So as that comes up, that is going to create a straighter neck, or if you turn it too far, a back bow. If I turn my truss rod too far, am I going to break it? Well, it's pretty unlikely. Am I going to make the fretboard pop off? Almost uncertainly, because Let's just turn it a little bit more, see what happens. Look at that. That is properly lifting out of the neck. So I have a little problem with this in the regard that I'm not 100% sure if it actually changes the curvature of the neck itself or if it's more active on the fretboard. Probably a combination of the two things. Now, what I do want to tell you is this. Let's get you back into a normal position. So you see how this is bending up here? I mean, of course, your fretboard would be on here. So, I mean, it seems to me that the majority of the movement is going to take place in your fretboard. You see what I mean? Rather than the neck itself. But there are probably two things going on there. If I tighten my truss rod too far, will it pop my fretboard off? Well, quite frankly, the chances of that are very, very slim. You'll have seen the adverts. Les Paul for sale, neck repair. Right, and then they always go on to say that the neck has been repaired usually with Franklin Tight Bond, which is the most super wood glue ever, and they say stronger than the original. That is very probably true, you know, because of course wood grain has frailties in it, but the glue is absolutely rock solid. So very probably it will be stronger once a neck repair has taken place using the correct methods and materials. We won't go into that subject just yet. That's something else for another day, although in many ways I hope not. So with CNC machines, what's the other about? CNC is computer numerical control, which basically means that you have a mill or a lathe and the computer dictates where it cuts and exactly what shape it makes, you see. So these days, guitar manufacture is really, really accurate. So when this meets this, and then it is tight bonded on, there's, you know, you really do have to put an awful lot of effort into separating the two, as you've just seen. So, yeah, so I don't think that you'll do any, but at least now you can see what the truss rod actually does. So you've got a nut here, and you've got a big bolt here with this is a 5mm thread. That's probably the most common one, and then there's a captive nut down at this end, and when you tighten it, well, you can see what happens. And so we'll just relax this and set it back to flat. There it goes. Yep, that's nice. So that is what happens when you tighten or loosen your truss rod. As I say, probably the biggest impact is with the thinnest piece of wood, which means that that bar that goes up and down with only the tiniest turns is more likely to perform a function on the fretboard, moving that up and down only, like I say, only in tiny incremental movements. Anyway, so that really is it. That's how it works. Do not be afraid to adjust your truss rod, and the chances of you breaking anything are really very, very slim, very, very unlikely indeed. It's a sensible mechanism that is unlikely to hurt your guitar, even if you're a bit cack-handed. So that's what they look like, that's how they work, that's what happens. So with all of that, I shall bid you all a fond farewell. Thanks all ever so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Adios amigos. Ta-ra.